Welcome in, I'm Artris, and in this video, we're going to be talking about the flavor of the month, Vinsmoke Reiju. Now, why are we talking about Reiju when normally this leader is not something that is very viable, especially in OP07? Well, if you're unfamiliar, the bans hit about a week and a half ago, and they specifically hit the Red-Purple Law leader, and then they also hit Enel Lobby in Lucci. And so, as a result, people are speculating that Reiju is going to be a very strong leader for the rest of 7.5 is what they're calling it, if you're into the competitive meta, which will be the Nats meta, which I have a side tangent, which I guess I'll go into really fast. It's very strange to me that they're implementing the bans a week before the actual OP07 ends, and we have like this weird Nats meta. I think it's interesting. There's definitely a lot of things to cook up for sure, but I'd rather just have them start the OP08 meta fresh with the bans rather than do this like last minute weird scramble to have a interesting Nats. But regardless, I digress. Vinsmoke Reiju is very much speculated to be the best deck in format as of right now. And I do say that it's a very strong deck. I'm not going to say it's the best deck in format. I think that there's some other decks that probably take more precedent over Reiju, maybe like Bonnie. Black Yellow Luffy is still very strong, and I think a few others might rise up, but it's still worth noting that Reiju is probably an S tier deck, and you're probably going to want to know how to play it, or if not how to play it, how to play against it. And so what we'll do is we'll go over the Reiju leader and then the standard deck list that you're probably going to be seeing for the next month, maybe even longer than that into OP08. For that. But before we get into the deck list, if you find anything in this video useful or informative, please make sure to drop a like and a sub. It helps the channel immensely. Additionally, if you'd like to talk about the card game outside of the YouTube comments, make sure to join the Discord. The link is in the description below. So starting off, Reiju is a leader that is in blue and purple that says your turn once per turn. Whenever one of your Dawn cards on the field is returned to your Dawn deck, draw one card. That is a very strong generic ability. It doesn't have anything to do with the Vinsmoke family archetype, which we'll see, but you typically will build this leader with the Vinsmokes overall. However, if you want to get a little bit spicy and build something different that doesn't have anything to do with Vinsmokes, you totally could, because this leader just says whenever Dawn is returned, draw a card. So starting off, we are running 2 Pudding. This is a very potent card in blue that says on play, your opponent returns all of their hand cards to their deck and shuffles their deck. Then your opponent draws 5 cards. So what Reiju does standardly is very much a aggro, rush face, hit as hard as you can, and then once your opponent has maybe like, I don't know, 7 to 9 cards in hand, you can play the Pudding and reset their hand. It throws off their momentum, and also all of the advantage that they've gotten from taking life is now gone. So Pudding is very strong. You probably don't want to run more than 2 though. You typically will see this card because you are drawing quite a lot overall, but I would say that if you run 3, you're running the risk of not getting something else that you might need, and I think deck space is kind of tight for Reiju. Going into the Vinsmoke archetype, we're running 4 Vinsmoke Reiju. This is going to be your bread and butter for the deck, which you're going to want to see more often than not. Dawn -1, you trash this character, and then if your leader has Derma 6/6, you may play 1 cost 7 Vinsmoke Reiju from your hand or trash. So you do this with the Reiju, you do this with the Reiju, and you also do this with Niji. So in a way, it's kind of like how Black Yellow Luffy has like the little kids from like the boys to men. Then with this, you have like the unsuited Vinsmokes into the suited Vinsmokes, which this one is a 7 cost on play. If you have equal to or less Dawn on your field than your opponent, give one of your opponent's characters minus 2,000 power for this turn, and then this character gains rush. So this is, like I said, your most powerful card in the deck. If you're going second and on your 4 Dawn turn, if you throw it out into Reiju, it's pretty hard for your opponent to come back from that, or at least try to kind of stabilize once they have to deal with a 7 cost, 7,000 power rush unit coming at them every turn. It's pretty nuts. This deck, though, I think a lot of people play it as a Reiju spam, and I don't necessarily think that is the correct way to play it. I actually think that what you want to be doing with this deck is managing your Dawn correctly so that you can play Judge as soon as possible. And so Vinsmoke Judge is your big boss monster of the deck. This is the highest cost card, highest power card in your deck. It doesn't get stronger than this. So once again, you're kind of like more low to the ground aggro. And this is an on-play Dawn -1. You may trash 2 cards from your hand. Play up to 4 Derma 6/6 type character cards with 4,000 power or less from your trash with different names. And then they activate main once per turn, Dawn -1, rest up to one of your opponent's Dawn cards. So both of those effects are very strong. This is a kind of like a Moria, but leader locked, not necessarily even leader locked, type locked to the characters that you're playing. So like I said, you're going to be playing Vinsmoke family, so the Vinsmoke Reiju 4-drop, the 2-drop Vinsmoke Reiju, and then the 3-drop Vinsmoke Niji. So basically what you're trying to do is get these all into your trash by using their effects throughout the game, and then once you get to 8 Dawn, you drop the Judge, and everything that is in the trash comes back again, and you establish pretty much a full board that I think is very hard for your opponent to deal with, especially if you've been hitting them every turn with like your Ichijis or whatever it may be. So as you can probably tell already that this deck has a lot of power. However, why is it not being played already? Well, it is somewhat being played if you're very brave, but with Red Purple Law, the reason why this deck specifically cannot be played when Red Purple Law was present is because Red Purple Law would always be able to minus their Dawn much better than you, so that you are basically minusing 1 Dawn per turn. They're minusing like 3. So your effects of on play with minusing Dawn with all the Vinsmoke unsuited characters, usually they would not come into effect when they would hit the field. So you're kind of just having these vanilla characters that you're, I guess, cheating out for cheap, but it doesn't feel good when you can't rush an Ichiji or use the Niji effect or draw off the Reiju. So that's why Reiju wasn't necessarily a strong meta pick overall. But now that Red Purple Law, this deck's worst enemy is gone, this is a very strong deck overall. Next, we're running 4 Vinsmoke Sora. This is a 2k counter that does have some utility here that says on play, you may discard a card from your hand. If you have equal to or less Dawn on your field than your opponent, add up to 1 character card of 4,000 power or less that has the Vinsmoke family type from the trash. So you basically, what you're trying to do with this is if you are trying to recycle some of the unsuited Vinsmokes, you can get them back with Vinsmoke Sora outside of just doing it with Judge. So sometimes you're going to need to be able to get another Resh Body in, and throwing a Vinsmoke Sora down just to get that back is a very strong optimal play at times. Then we highlighted Niji very briefly, but what Niji does, when you are Dawn minusing 1 with this character, you're able to bring out 1 cost 5 Vinsmoke Niji from your hand or trash, and then the 5 cost Niji is a 5 cost 6,000 power body that says on play, if you have equal to or less Dawn on your field than your opponent, choose one of the following: KO up to one of your opponent's characters that cost 2 or less, or return up to one of your opponent's characters that cost 4 or less to their owner's hand. So this is great for some momentum, either getting rid of blockers or searchers very early on, or if you want, you can bounce things back to the opponent's hand. That might be a little bit of a problem for you. A good example could be a 4-cost Lucci is on the field. You could bounce that back to the opponent's hand, gain some tempo there, and they either have to replay it or figure out how to get rid of it out of their hand. This is also really good against yellow when they have bodies that come out of life, especially I'm thinking like Katakuri, when you have Kikunojo, or maybe like the Perospero, you can just bounce it back to their hand. And then of course we have Reiju, which Reiju is a 2-cost 2,000 power body that says Dawn -1. You trash this character. If your leader has Germa 6/6 type, you may play up to 1 cost 4 Vinsmoke Reiju from your hand or trash, and the 4-cost Vinsmoke Reiju is an on play if you have equal to or less Dawn on your field than your opponent. If you have 5 or less cards in hand, draw 2 cards. So this will allow you to refuel your hand. What you're trying to do with this deck is you're trying to counter out of as many attacks as possible. That makes sense, at least, so that you can keep your threshold of hand around 4 to 5 and then play the Reiju to refill, which is really powerful because one of the things that I think a lot of aggro decks struggle with overall is being able to keep a strong hand size throughout the game. Usually they'll run out of gas, and once they run out of gas, that's when control decks can take over. However, Reiju is an aggro deck that doesn't really run out of gas unless, of course, they just don't see their pieces. So this piece specifically is one that will help the gas keep going overall. Next, we're running 4 Gina. This came from OPO7. It's a Foxy Pirates 2k counter. That's pretty much all you're going to need it for. It does have an effect, but I'm going to be honest, you really don't want to play this down. It is a 2k counter that is searchable off of the Porsche, which the Porsche is an OPO7 edition. This is on play Dawn -1. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck. You may add up to 1 card with the type Foxy Pirates to your hand. Place the remainder on the bottom of your deck in any order you like. Then you may play up to 1 4,000 power or lower purple character from hand. So you can already see the synergy here. If you have a Porsche, you can play the Porsche, use the minus effect, and then you can also find something like a Gina or a Chopper, which we'll get to in a second. And then once you have those cards in hand, then you can play an unsuited Vinsmoke, either the Ichiji, the Niji, or the Reiju. And then if you want to, you can use the effect again to bring out another body that powers it up. However, I will say this, because the main goal for me personally is trying to get your Judge out as soon as possible, I don't advise doing 2- Dons in a single turn, because that will set you back further than you would want to be. A really good use of Porsche though is to put these bodies on the field and then have your opponent either answer them, or maybe they just sit there for a turn. The other thing is you can play the Chopper out, which the Chopper is a blocker that says on play, if your board has Don less than or equal to your opponent, add up to 1 Don from your Don deck rested. So you can play the Porsche and then put the Chopper out, gain the Don back, and you basically went even there so that you're back on track to play Judge on curve. So what I will say though, it is very important to manage your Don with this deck. I will say that a lot of people will minus, and then they won't be able to play their Judge efficiently. There are times where it is very smart to minus a lot, especially if you're in the mirror. If you want to be really aggro, maybe against like a Nami, you could do that as well. However, I advise to typically take it slower in the sense of just do 1- Don a turn, and if you can play a Chopper to gain that Don back after you've minused, I think that's really strong. Then I'm running 2 Queen. Queen is kind of a flex card in this deck. You could probably put other things in here as well. Queen is a blocker that says on play Don -1. It's from starter deck 4, by the way, so since the beginning of the game. Draw 2 cards and trash 1 card from your hand, but in this deck, it is a draw 3, and you get to trash 1 as well. So that synergizes really well with what you're trying to do. So overall, Queen has a lot of utility, and you can also use this, turn it sideways, and just start attacking with it as well. I do quite often, and I think that that incentivizes your opponent to probably attack into the Queen as opposed to maybe your life, and you can protect the Queen a lot easier than you can your own self. So I think Queen is a very good addition here. I have seen other people put maybe some like Missile Sundays in to ramp up faster. Bond Clays, the 4-drop 1k power that copies an opponent's character, also to ramp up. That's up to you though. I think that Queen is probably the best addition here, just because you're able to draw your pieces a lot easier here. Then we're running 2 of the Germa 6/6 Searchers. This is a look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal it to 1 card with a type including Germa, other than Germa 6/6, and add it to your hand, then place the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So this mostly is just so you can find your pieces a lot easier. If you're not able to draw into them, or use the Reiju to draw, or the Queen to draw into them, Germa 6/6 can find them for you. And the thing that you're trying to find, either in your opening hand, which you should always mulligan for, or with this Germa 6/6, is the Germa Kingdom stage. This is an activate main. You may discard 1 card, then rest the stage. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck, reveal it to 1 card with the Germa and its types, and add it to your hand. Then send the remaining cards to the bottom of your deck in any order. What you're typically going to want to do with this is throw out the suited Vinsmokes and then get them back with the unsuited Vinsmokes, so that you're essentially seeing more cards in your deck and then able to play them from the trash as opposed to your hand. There are times where you're going to want to play some of the Vinsmokes from hand, like maybe if you're on your 2 Don turn going first, you have a Vinsmoke Reiju unsuited, and then you also have the Vinsmoke Reiju suited in your hand. You can then play this one minus a Don, bring this one out, and then you draw a boatload of cards. So that's one play you could do if you want to do it from your hand, but typically you're going to try to discard the bigger ones so that you can get them back from the trash. But overall, I will say that this deck is very strong. Not the best deck in format quite yet. I think that it will fold pretty easily to Black Yellow Luffy. It's just one of those matchups where you're wanting to play aggro in most matchups, and Black Yellow Luffy wants you to hit them as hard as you can. And then once you do get to that stage where they've awakened, your strongest characters are Ichiji and Judge, and those are not going to be good enough to stack Dawn on to try to get up to 9k power and then get past Sabo blockers. There are techs you can do overall to try to make the Black-Yellow Luffy matchup easier by adding maybe a Black Bug, which is an event card that is a searchable event card for Vinsmoke family. You could also try adding a few other things in here as well, but overall, I think that the deck list, like I said earlier, is kind of tight in what it needs to do. There's a few different ways to build it. I think this is one way to build it, probably the most common way. There's another build that I have that's a little bit more rampy and trying to get to the Judge turn faster, because I do think that this deck, once you play Judge, the game just becomes so much easier for you. In the early to mid stages, if you're able to Ichiji spam, that's great, but I think Judge is what really makes this deck overall very strong. Being able to put out 4 bodies in a single turn, draw cards, bounce something, and then also have a rush unit. It's just, Moria is strong for a reason, Judge is also strong for that very similar reason. And the other thing that I will say before we get into some games here is that Judge is very strong into the Bonnie matchup, so Bonnie is another tough matchup for you overall. if you can get to your judge turn as soon as possible, the activate main once per turn Dawn -1 will rest that Dawn card that your Bonnie opponent will have up to try to rest your characters down. So that is very strong as well. If a Bonnie player is going against you, they might just leave up 2 if they want to guarantee they can rest something, but that also taxes them a little bit more than they want to be taxed. So Judge is very strong in that matchup. But enough about the deck list and about the deck itself. Let's take it into the sim and see how it does. All right, going against Nami, we want to try to make sure that we pressure them as hard as possible. Niji's a pretty good card to have. Porsche is also a decent card to have as well. Let's keep this hand and get the Porsche down next turn. We'll swing 5 and then play the Porsche, bring the Ichiji out. We're not going to minus unless we do have the Ichiji. I think it's probably wise just to put this body out. They don't really have ways to answer it. At least the typical Nami builds don't. They have the Snake Dance, so Snake Dance will bring their Kayas back, which is pretty important for them. I think we want to hide the fact that we have Ichiji, or sorry, hide the fact that we have Nijis instead. Let's see if we can find something. We do find a Gina, and then we're going to bring this Ichiji out and then pass the turn. So we don't want to minus Dawn because, well, 1, we can't, but 2, I don't think... Like, I think it's more important to have as much Dawn against Nami, but it also is pretty important to get bodies established. They throw it on a Nami here. I think it's probably as smart as possible to get rid of it. So we could go Porsche, Niji, and then establish a bunch of bodies. I think that's probably smart. You just go peel off. That's fine. Let's go Porsche at face. This is a turn where you can actually go 5, 5, 5, bring out a couple bodies here. They're at 1 Dawn open, so that means that they cannot White Snake, so we're not in any threat of them bumping their leader up to 6k for the turn. Okay. They use their event. Now we're going to be able to hit them for sure with the Ichiji. We're going to minus Dawn twice on a turn, which definitely sucks. It is what it is, though. We don't find any hits. That's okay, I guess. Return, we'll bring this one out, and then we'll go minus again. They have to take this one unless they have a 2 and a 1, which they probably don't want to drop 2 more cards out of hand, so they'll definitely take it. And hopefully, well, we didn't get a trigger. That was good on our end, I guess. Good for me, you know? Really worked hard there. Make sure that didn't happen. They do have Snake Dance, so it's a good time to get rid of the Kaya. If they put 2 Kayas down, that could be a problem, but I guess we can't really just sit back and do nothing either, so I think it's more important just to get rid of the Kaya first. So what I'm going to end up doing is playing small Reiju so that I'm using my Dawn efficiently. This is good because we can pitch this and then get it back next turn. So they leave a bunch up. So what we're going to end up doing is play this down. Then we're going to minus, bring this out, KO that. Let's swing 6. We're minusing our Dawn pretty aggressively, which I typically advise not to do here. But for instance, if a Nami has this much Dawn open, I would advise just swinging 6 because that will prevent them from like white snaking unless they go like white snake, and then at that point you just kind of pass the turn so that you don't swing anymore. So we get a gavel out, so that's pretty good on our end. But also we want to see some of the bigger events come out. So Level of Beam is definitely something that we want to see come out. We want these to get out of the way already. They are down to a small amount of cards in hand. This could be a turn where they could white snake this. I don't know if it's advisable to swing here. Typically, I'll usually pass the turn. So I think I'm going to pass the turn here because swinging there with 2 Dawn open might give them the white snake, and I don't want to give them that. Unfortunate. What did they get rid of? Okay, so they're looking to bounce this back to hand. Oh gosh. Okay, so we can't do much about that. When they have 2 Kais, oh, they get rid of a Snake Dance. They might have another one. That's fine. We can't do much about 2 Kais on the board here. It is what it is. We're just gonna swing. I think we just want to swing 6 first. See if they can get an event out of hand. If they Snake Dance, they Snake Dance. It is what it is. Cool. That will allow us to just swing 5s now. We can swing a little bit higher as well. I do want to play the Germa 6/6 and get something else out of hand here, so we're going to try to get them to use... We're going to try to get them to use their Kaya as counter. I think that's important. They're just taking life. They're just aggressively taking life here. We can go 7. No. Let's go 6 first. Because this will be like, hey, use your 2K. I know you have a Kaya in hand. I know you want to use it next turn on the board. But no, pitch it to stay alive. And then we'll go 7/7. And then we'll use the Germa 6/6 event. So, okay, now we're free to just go 7/7. One of these is going to get blocked for sure. But they're also at 20 cards left in the deck. And 1 life. So, I imagine they're probably going to take or block. Okay, that's fine. We'll go 7 here. I'll probably take it. No trigger. Okay, cool. And then we'll use this to search. I guess we'll get... a Chiji. Doesn't really matter. Our board is full, so we're not really looking to replace any of these characters. How many snake dances do they have in the trash? They have 1, 2, 3. It doesn't really, to be honest, it doesn't really matter. What I'm more like concerned about is the white snake, which they don't have a single white snake in the trash. Just very, very scary overall. So that's why we need to swing 6s. They do have a couple of blockers here. That's fine. Let's go ahead and just swing 6. If they have the white snake, they can only play 1. Yep. And then they have to counter out something else. Swing 7. It's a really awkward counter for them if they have to do that. Let's swing 6. We're just going to ask for cards out of hand because the only thing they can play here is a 1-cost event. So yeah, they had a bunch of white snakes, and I think we played around it pretty well. With Nami, it's all about math, and sometimes, you know, you need enough bodies on the board to help get there. That's why Enel struggles with this matchup, is because they just can't put enough bodies on the board. You can still math it out and win, but Nami needs to see not enough bodies on the board for that to happen. So yeah. Overall, I think Vinsmoke Reiju is a good matchup against Nami because it does bring the aggression, and you can tech Gion if you really want to. All right, against Lucci, which is probably a deck you're going to see a lot of, you're going to want to take second if you can and get your Ichiji out as soon as possible. I do think that Judge is the most important thing to throw down if you can, but they have opted to go second, which is smart on their part. Oh, wow. Well, we whiffed on that, which usually doesn't happen, but sometimes it does. And if it does, well, you kind of just have to go with it. Just go with the flow. I guess we can grab an Ichiji, and then we're just going to go and swing 8. We're off to a really bad start here. You know, down a card in hand, not being able to play any bodies out. Hopefully we can find something. We'll take the next hit. I think that's okay to get another card in hand, see something a little bit further. And then maybe be able to get a rush unit down. I think that's pretty important. For them, they probably... Okay, Borsalino's a pretty good card to have. We're going to try to find as many... Well, actually, you know what? Getting a Niji's pretty good here as well. Let's go ahead and just play an Ichiji down and then start the Ichiji spam. Go 6 and then go 7. There's a world where you could play this Germa Kingdom, but I don't really feel like playing it just this turn. We could also use it to fodder. So yeah, they're just trying to stay alive because what they want to do is make it to their 8 Dawn turn effectively without being too low in life. If we can get another Ichiji, that'd be great, but I don't think we're going to be able to find those pieces quite yet. This next turn, we could go Ichiji, or sorry, we could go Niji. You know what? People are calling them Rangers, like Blue Ranger, Red Ranger. I call them by their actual names, so maybe I'm weird for doing that. But yeah, we could play Blue Ranger for those that go by the Rangers overall. Get rid of the Germa Kingdom. We can also use the Germa Kingdom to search deeper into the deck. We'll be on 5 Dawn, though, so I don't know if that's very effective. Ideally, we could go like Germa Kingdom, toss the Niji, maybe find an Ichiji, a Red Ranger, play a Germa Kingdom, toss the Red Ranger, and hope to find another Ichiji, and if we don't, then we can play the Niji and swing 6/7, bounce something back to hand. This turn will probably be a Sabo turn overall, but I'm assuming they're just going hard in the tank here. Okay, you know what? I'm actually going to counter out of this because it says to me that they don't have an answer for it, and they're probably scared about this thing. Let's see if we can find... Well, Germa 6/6 is almost as good. Maybe we can find another one. We don't. And that's okay. We're at 6 to 6, so let's swing 7. And swing 8. And then I'm going to throw down a chopper and then go up to 7 Dawn so that we're able to, if we can, find a judge. Not that it matters because we don't really have that much in the trash. They're taking it all. Wow. And then pass. So this turn, we just turned off. Basically, we turned off anything that they had for Isho. For me personally, seeing Lucci throw down an Isho on 8 really sucks. Do I want to take this? I think I do. I think I want to take it. I think I want to take it and see what we can get out of it. I want to see if I can find a judge, and I also need to find a small Reiju. This also might be a turn where they just go like, okay, cool. We took all those life because we're trying to find answers to this Ichiji on the field. But I think their best play here would be Moria. Yeah, Moria, put a blocker out. And that's it. Yep. Go here. Hear ye, hear ye. Okay, so do we spam the board? I think we do. I think we do. I think we go boom, boom. We have both of our judges are gone. No. That sucks. Return the cards to deck. We'll put out this guy, and then what we're gonna end up doing is we can actually hit them really hard here. We could go 8. We could go 7, 8, 8. 7, 8, 8. I think 7, 8, 8 is good. They probably have a lot of counter here. And then we'll put up another chopper just to do it. I don't know why, though. Like, it doesn't matter. Being at 8 doesn't matter anymore. We'll go 7, 8. And we'll go another 8. And we'll play the chopper down just for extra protection. We have pretty good board here overall. Unfortunately, passing those judges really hurt, but it is what it is. I think if we can survive this turn, awesome. If not, I mean, we will survive the turn, but if we can keep all of the bodies on board, amazing. The last thing I want, though, is to pitch this Sora, because in the worst case scenario that they do get rid of the Ichiji, I think we just use this Sora effect. Do we take this? I think we just block. Just block it. We have our blockers on the field for a reason, so might as well use them. How bad does this person's hand have to be if they took all that life? Okay. Wow. Sabo to get rid of these two, I imagine. Oh, wow. Okay. Do you think if they're going after the Ichiji here? I imagine they're probably going to swing after this, yeah. Do we hit them really hard? Oh, we have 10 Dawn to play with. Let's swing 9. Let's just swing 9 first. See what they do. They have to give us so many cards. They have to give us 3 cards here. And then we could go 7 with the Porsche. Oh, gosh. No! And then just go all in, 13 to 5. I mean, if they have it, then they're dumping their entire hand here, which they baited me very well. They didn't have it. We hit them very... What did they have overall? Okay, so they had a couple of big bodies. They had Moria, zero cost event, and a bunch of stuff here. Wow. Yeah, I think we just hit them really hard and fast, and that's kind of how you have to do it with Lucci. Unfortunately, we didn't see our judge, though. All right, going against Enel, I think that we want to go second and get our big body out as soon as possible. I don't know why I kept this hand. I probably should have mulliganed, but it's okay. We will make do with what we have here. Probably swing 8 at lead, and we'll just something have to take here. I want to see if I can find stage. I was just like speaking too fast, and I think I just hit okay. It's a 2K check, and we have the 2K. Yes, we do. Okay. I think that's fine. Like, typically, if I'm going to counter out of a swing, I think it's fine if it only costs 1 card, especially if it's like a Nami. I think that's fine. Let's swing 6. They'll likely take it. And then we're going to go Niji and KO the Onami. Don't want to bounce it back to hit. We don't want them swinging another banish at us. Now, the reason why Enel's probably sitting here is probably thinking, like, okay, do I take this or not? Because, like, you have to be aware that I do have a pudding in the deck. And if they decide to take too many cards, then that is a problem for them. This is also good for us throwing the Niji down because Niji coming out means they cannot Gedatsu us. They can just play the Gedatsu down. Yeah, they're playing the Luffy. Overall, I think that's fine. I don't have any issues with that. We are at same dawn. We can actually just play the Reiju down. Draw a couple. And then pass the turn. We're not going to give them the option to KO it with Luffy. This is where they might have a Gedatsu though. They could go Shirahoshi Gedatsu. I think that's fine. If they decide to swing first, we're going to take it 100%. They just decide not to do that. Okay. Interesting. 7 to 7. What if we just do this? What if we just swing in? What if we just play out an Ichiji? Just flat hard cast it. Why not? They're at 9. They could pop the Niji. I think that's fine. They could kill these two. We can get it back, though. Not the worst thing in the world. We'll counter out of this one, and we'll probably take this next one. Yep. Cool. All right. Give me Judge. No Judge. We can go 3, play an Ichiji. We can hit him pretty hard, actually. Not a bad option. We have a couple of options here, actually. We could go, let's just swing 5, see what they do. We're at 9 dawn, so we're actually pretty comfortable minusing a couple of turns, actually. This is a lot of cards in hand. Okay, we'll go here. We could grab a Chopper. Chopper's not awful. Chopper is not awful. Oh, there's the Judge. There he is. We're going to bounce that back to hand because I do not want that to be coming out. This will require 2 cards to come from hand. They are signaling that they have Ace. What we need here is a pudding so badly. So badly. They're probably going to go, oh, just another Yamato. Okay, that's fine. Yamato is not the worst thing in the world. It means we can defend this hit. Or not. We don't have to defend this hit either. That's fine. I didn't want to defend that hit. Or that one. Okay, so here is what we're going to do. We're going to end up pitching... We could go Double Judge. Double Judge is pretty strong here. Pitch a Chopper and a Reiju. Get some of these things back. So let's swing first. Let's just swing first and see what we can get out of them. Swing 5. Okay. 0 cost event. Pretty strong. No complaints there. We're going to get a lot of cards out of hand here, which is really nice. Go 5, 5. This will probably be countered out. If I were the Enel, I would counter out of this one because they know that these 2 attacks are coming through. And I'm at 9 dawn. A Judge could come in at any point in time. Countering with a 2K. Okay. Go 7. Another 7. And they're going to have another 7 as well. Yeah. Good thing we swung with that. Okay. They took it. This life. Double Onami is insane. Good thing we swung with our units first. Go here, here, and here. Go ahead and get the Reiju draw. We'll go ahead and just suit up. There's nothing to send to hand, so we'll minus. We'll do this. And minus here, and we'll go 7 to 5. And we technically can't Judge next turn, which sucks. But that's okay. We'll make do. I will counter out of this one. Okay, we will take that one. I think this is an ace. It has to be an ace. Why else are they swinging like this? Yeah. Boom, boom. Boom, and boom. Okay, so we got a couple of Onamis out of life, so we're just going to still swing as if they have more. Okay. At this point in the game, 7s are really good against them. Okay, we got the triggers, potential triggers out of their hands, which is good, or out of the way. We don't have to worry about these being KO'd. Okay, another 7 coming their way. Yep, 5 at face. And if we want, I mean, we could go all on Judge. We could go another Ichiji, go 7. We could go like 5, 7, 8. We could also just go 5, 12. But yeah, their hand had a lot of counters, which to be expected. I wish that I could have played a pudding earlier. If I had the pudding where it would have made sense to play it, I would have played it. But unfortunately, we didn't see it. And, you know, usually you have to play... You have to play aggressive against Enel, get them to that 1 life, and then really pressure them at that point. So yeah, I think we played it just fine. The Yamato, the second Yamato, instead of an ace, if that was an ace, I think we would have been a little bit more trouble because they could have pressured our bodies and we wouldn't have been able to swing as many times. But yeah, the Judge is definitely our savior in this matchup. Actually, to be honest, it's a savior in most of the matchups that you play. So overall, I think Reiju is a very strong pick if you're looking to play something that is consistently good into the Nats era of North America. I don't know about Europe, but I think September 6th is like a week before Nats in North America hits. So yeah, this is a pretty strong deck list. I would say this is a pretty standard deck list considering, you know, what people are building Reiju as. You will unfortunately have a really rough time against Black Yellow Luffy. So if you do expect a lot of those in the meta, good luck. You can win against Bonnie. I think just a lot of chip swings and then Judge as soon as possible is the way to go about it. But unfortunately, we didn't see any Bonnies in the sim this evening. So the decks we did get to go against, I think, are good top contenders in the meta. So Nami, Enel, and also Lucci are going to be 3 of the most popular decks I would imagine being played alongside Reiju, played in like the Nats era. But it's like a really strange thing where like we have this week of this ban era to play 7.5. So yeah, we're gonna have a really strange Nats for sure. It'll be interesting to see. It could be a lot of fun. Who knows? But then shortly after that, we'll have OP08, and I believe Reiju will be just as strong in OP08 as it is for this 7.5 era. So yeah, I think that this deck very strong. If I have to give one pointer, try to get to your Judge turn as soon as possible. Playing Judge and getting all of the Vinsmokes out on the field at once is such an overwhelming thing for your opponent to have to deal with that Judge will usually win games alone off of being able to cast it. Of course, like I said at the beginning of the video, you could Ichiji spam if you want and get a couple of Ichijis out on the field and your opponent might not be able to answer them, and that also can get you victories, but I think the more effective way is to get Judge out as soon as possible. So there you have it. That's Reiju in a nutshell. Hopefully you guys can take some inspiration and build off of it, or hopefully find that this deck is well suited for you. Haha, great pun, right? Anyway, thank you guys. Appreciate it. I think the next week... So anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. As always, I believe next week we'll start going into some of the OP08 stuff, whether it's tier list or maybe some pre-release tips, but we'll start our OP08 coverage really soon. As always, really appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next video.